Here we go again, another episode of Ask Me Anything with the Money Multiplier Money Mentors BYOB All-Star Team. With that being said, we got a few questions to kick off with, but throw them over in the chat box. We'll answer all your questions. Infinite banking, money, investing. I don't know, what else you guys want to talk about today?
Are we live? Because I don't know if we are.
Oh,
Yes,
we're live.
We're
live, baby. We are live. So we're going to be right back for some introductions, get some questions answered in about 14 seconds. All right, if you're new to the show, we do this every single Wednesday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, where we can answer any questions you have about infinite banking, becoming your own bank, and all the other fun things that Money School talks about. I know Chris Noggle and the team were preparing for our 3-day Money School Essentials training this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's going to be awesome. We got some incredible experts coming on, some incredible brand new opportunities coming Sunday. So it's going to be a full lineup all 3 days, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to record the entire thing. We're going to send you guys the recording. So hopefully you already have your tickets. With that said, I'm Stephen Nagy. Do a quick introduction. We'll get to your questions. So put your questions in the chat box in the comments section, and we'll answer those shortly. So I'll just start to the left, the right. Miss Shauna Decker. What's up, Shauna?
Hey all, happy to be here. I added my email right here. Ask me any questions now or later. Over to Jake.
Hello. Happy, wonderful Wednesday all down here in Ocoee, Florida. It's beautiful in the 80s. So I know everywhere else in the country, hopefully you're getting some nice weather now too, since a groundhog did not see a shadow, I think, meaning spring's coming early. And tomorrow, Founding Fathers, 3 p.m. Come check it out. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about money mindset and the 5 different laws that Nelson Nash goes through in his book. We'll be discussing those and then how you can understand them and switch those. So down to my man, Brian Fouts. He's got a knife and a dinosaur, just so in case anybody's wondering. So
there we go. For my daughter for Valentine's Day, so I have to have it with me. Otherwise, she gets mad at me. So I'm up in the Pacific Northwest where it is actually cold and windy outside, but it's not raining. So I'm very happy about that. Have a lot of calls lined up today and tomorrow for infinite banking. Have some very interesting challenges that we've actually been solving on those calls. It's been amazing. So grateful to be able to help people out and solve their problems with infinite banking. So I'll move it on to actually, who's to this side? Linus, there you are.
This side.
There you go.
Hey, y'all, my name is Linus Knoll. I'm on the application team at the Money Multiplier. So when you guys understand this concept and you want to move forward and implement it in your life, you will talk with somebody on this application team, and that could be me. So
if they're lucky, right, Linus?
I'm Joe. I'm on the other side of Brian. So not only is it windy, cold, it is raining here too. So the power just got knocked out at my mom's house that I found out about an hour ago. So, but anyway, we're here answering your questions in regards to HELOCs and policies and anything else that you want to throw our way.
Yeah, Joe is known as Mr. HELOC, Mr. Semi-Truck, Mr. Cadillac, and Mr. The Man overall. So thanks for hopping on, Joe. And then we got Mr. Hurling at the bottom of the screen.
Yes, sir. What's up, guys? In here from California today, and I do have to run a little early today, hopping into a couple calls with people talking about infinite banking, but I'm excited to be here with you again, week after week, talking about this concept and answering your questions.
Awesome, man. All right, cool. Let's get into the questions, Shauna. What do you think?
Yeah, so we do have 2 pre-submitted questions from Rick Smith. He said, with a first HELOC, how much percent-wise of the available balance do you utilize for opportunities where there is a positive net return over the interest rate of the HELOC? And then he's got a second question after that. But,
well, I think he's asking how much slush he would want to keep inside the HELOC. That's a personal kind of warm and fuzzy feeling. Does he want to keep enough for 1 month or 2 months? I mean, when you get the first lien HELOC, they're going to go in and grab the HELOC or grab the mortgage and all of the debts and create a one-pot system. So therefore, there is leftover money inside of the line And within that line, that's what you can put into opportunities. And it just depends on, how much you want to leave inside that one pot, because that one pot is now going to be your savings account, your checking account, and your investment account. So every penny that comes into the house goes into the pot. So you just have to make sure that you obviously have enough of money in the pot to pay the bills and stuff that you want to operate on.
So that kind of runs into his follow-up question too, is where is the better place to keep the 3 to 6 months emergency fund, the first lien HELOC, the policy, or elsewhere? And you kind of made it all sound like one. So if you could explain that a little bit more.
So it's a little bit different when you do the one pot system, because then there's the HELOC. The HELOC involves opportunity cost, which is the interest rate that you're utilizing for the HELOC. When we take the money and it's in the HELOC, we'll run it through the policy. Now the policy is going to be an asset. So with the amount of money that comes into what you're borrowing, we're having a net gain of 1. So it's an asset. So then when we borrow the money out and put it back into the opportunity cost, that will be paying down the interest for the HELOC.
Joe, I think this is the best explanations I've heard. Don't ask me anything. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that way, but I've written down more notes in this, other than the circle and all the stuff. It's very, very good.
Yeah. When it comes to the one pot system, he's got it dialed.
His delivery is getting more crisp.
Yeah.
Also, I love Brad right now. Pulled over, insert disclaimer here, back on the road.
So, you don't want your money sitting doing nothing. So we all want it always moving. And if we're moving it, it should be paying the opportunity cost and not being stuck in the asset. So I run it through the policy, put it back into the HELOC, because now it goes into the investment. So what am I doing? Not only am I making money once in the investment, I'm also running it through the policy, making money twice.
And paying your home down.
And paying less in the house, because now there's velocity. So now what does that mean? So if I'm getting paid every Friday and that paycheck hits my HELOC every Friday, and the investment is coming in from this investment and from this investment, and that's hitting twice, what is velocity? Rate times speed. So the amount of money that hits the policy or hits the account will pay down that velocity of the interest rate. So therefore, we're not really paying 7.75. It'll be decreased to probably around 3.25 or 3.75.
I've been asked this question, Joe, a couple of times, and I don't know the right answer, but I've heard Christy Van say it a lot, where you can, if you fund your HELOC with your income, the payment for the interest doesn't matter because it goes away. Or some terminology like that. What does that mean?
Say that again. If you
the payment doesn't go away, but I've heard her say like the payment is not really there because you put your whole income in. It suffices the payment.
I think what you're trying to get at is the amount that you are paying to utilize the money in the HELOC, the cost of the HELOC, is not existent because of the amount of money that is funneled in to the policy to compensate for that. That's where the interest rate will go down.
Sure.
I think that's kind of what you're alluding to.
So you still would lose that interest amount every month to the bank.
Well, it is a bill to the bank for utilizing that money. However, what do we teach? To take that money, put it into an investment to make you more an investment. So now that investment is actually covering that opportunity price, right?
100%.
There you go. So now somebody else is paying your bills.
And over time, someone else paying your bills pays that, like within 5 years, 3 to 5 years, it pays off that whole HELOC. Like that's the magic of money moving, money in motion.
Yep, that's the game plan, to be out of debt within 3.5 to 5 years. That's usually the game plan with most of the people that I speak with.
Love it. I'm going to keep coming back to this cute little disclaimer here. Thanks, Brad. Okay, so on the same thing, David and Dorothy are saying, hey guys, question for Joe. Are you concerned about the current banking climate and having a first lien HELOC?
No, not necessarily. Not with that. Not with the bank that we utilize, because they don't sell any of it. It's all in house.
Yeah, so that's actually, that kind of hits on the point, the importance of relationships, and like you talk to that bank and that bank knows exactly what you're after and the type of people you're dealing with. I think their question seems more general for like any other bank. And so like that's good why like communication, like that's how communication with those companies and with the banks is good, right?
So like when Chris he goes to the one bank and he grabs the HELOC and he puts it into the other bank, like when the pandemic happened. So then they wouldn't close the line because there was no money in it to close it. So I kind of technically do the same thing now. I utilize my full HELOC amount. So when I'm making the money, all of my HELOC is out making money. So when it comes in, I'm just paying the opportunity cost per month. So that other money is now being utilized into another system. So then it just gets implemented and thrown out too. They're not going to close a line if all of the money is out on the line, more or less. I think that's kind of where that question was going, right, Dorothy?
Okay.
So Joe, you're saying they won't close it, but is that different from them calling it?
They could call it, but if they don't have anything to grab, what are they going to get? Just I mean, like Chris, that's how he moved his between 2 or 3 different banks. So then I think they kept all of them open because they didn't call or have them pay any of them. Played the shell game.
Yeah.
I remember that one. Okay, so next question, and we don't really have any more, so this get them in, guys. How come many illustrations I see stop paying after 10 years? What do they do after 10 years? Open another policy or continue paying into it?
A lot of variables there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did one the other day. Actually, no, it was yesterday, where they couldn't pay after year 9, I believe it was, or it was year 11 or something like that because of the MET rule. So sometimes you can't. So it depends on what the person is, all the factors, I guess I would say in them. But yeah, we couldn't do any more paid up additions after year 9. So at that point, all they were doing is paying their base premium. Now at that point, they could have chosen to have the dividends cover the base premium and pay nothing, but that slows down the growth of the policy. So in this case, the person said, "Okay, hit the back at year 9, so we take the QAs off." And then they will continue paying the base premiums, which is around 35%, because that will then get the growth of the policy in the later years. So it's a different answer for every person, is what I would say. But you do have the option of dropping off the base even after year 10 and having dividends cover that. So it's a personal thing, but I know everybody else has a different thought on that.
Helps if I unmute. I got a thought on that. A lot of the reasons why you see a lot of illustrations done with, a payment of 10 years, a lot of people don't understand the value of the infinite banking concept or how it even works. So a lot of the illustrations with 10 pays and then done are truly a 10 pay. And they think they're doing the client a service by saying, oh, hey, you only have to put premiums in for 10 years. You're actually screwing the client by doing that. Because if you like, for example, I have an old policy. Many of you do. If Craig was on, he could talk. But any of us that have policies that are in that 10th year, which, I certainly do, for every dollar I put in, I get over $3 back. So by doing a 10 pay and cutting the client off in the 10th year, you're literally saying, hey, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, you could put $1 into this thing and get 3 back, but sorry, you chose to only make premium deposits for 10 years. You can no longer put money in. I think it's a huge mistake. And I think it's short-sighted, and I think it really shows that people don't understand the value of what it is we do. I don't ever want a policy that I only put money into for 10 years. I want to put the most I can in the policy when I want to put it in, up to the limit. So I want a policy that allows me to fund it all the way straight through to the max level, because I know the value of how much money I'm going to get for every dollar I put in.
I agree with that. And then, I mean, I just had my newest policy, but like even just in 4 years, like my health rating has changed too. So like I wouldn't want to get to year 10 and decide I wanted to open up a new one at that point, and then like my whole life and health and everything is totally different than 10 years prior. All right.
When Chris said the first thing is think long term, like the first thing that is taught in infinite banking, what we teach, what any practitioner that's worth a salt is teaching you is think long term. Now we are solving short term problems to think long term. So what Chris is saying is, hey, if you don't want to keep paying into your system and keep capitalizing, then you don't yet understand this. Go back and read some more. Go back and learn some more. Watch some more of Chris's videos.
Mm-hmm. Derek's asking, can you still call the insurance company each year to check if any PUAs can be added?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. That's what you should be doing. And use your implementation specialist too.
Yep. All right. Robert D is saying, I'm getting income tax money and my annual bonus for my W-2 in the next couple of weeks. Should I use that money to open a new policy for my kids, or should I put it in my first lien HELOC?
Love the sub-2 logo. Gosh, that could go both ways, right, Joe? I mean, I don't know enough to really tell you straight up which one to do. I mean, it depends on the circumstances of your first lien HELOC. It depends on a lot of factors. Maybe there's a benefit to your kids. If you put it into policies for the kids, are you going to be able to get enough in first off? Is it going to be beneficial enough second? And third, is there somewhere that money can go to work immediately to start making more that pertains to your kids? So just lots of variables there, Robert. I wouldn't know how to really answer that outside of, just scheduling a call to really kind of dive into that one a little deeper.
Yeah.
Having the sub-2 logo, I bet he wants to invest in real estate himself, whether it's lending or buying or wholesaling, whatever. So if that's where his fund's going to go anyways, putting it through the HELOC or through the policy could work before doing that transaction. But I guess, like Chris said, it depends on what other factors there are.
And knowing that too, Carson, I think first, knowing if that was the answer, I would say put it through the first lien HELOC because it's going to give him 100% access for what he puts, what he pays down on the first lien. He's got 100% to use, and the policy is not. The only caveat to that would be doing it in the policy is going to have a much better long-term benefit for him, but that long-term might be 10 years out. So you kind of got to weigh that lag for not having access to all the money in the policy versus having access to all of it in the first lien.
And if it's for your kids, then 10 years down the line is what you want anyways.
Bingo.
So maybe it makes sense.
If he's doing,
that could go both ways.
If he's doing the first lien HELOC, that means that all of his money is going into the HELOC. So if he wants to get a policy on his kids, it's going to come out of the HELOC one way or the other anyway.
That's true.
So, I mean, and then once we ran through the policy for the kids, you're going to hit loan and put it right back into the HELOC anyway. And then we're going to utilize that into an investment.
So probably both.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Let's just do them both.
I'm gonna put our link up there too. So mentors.beyourownbanker.com will get you on the phone with any of these lovely people that you're talking or that you see on the screen today. Back to that question about the 10-year, like why would anyone build a policy like that, Chris? That's a follow-up question to those 10 pays.
Sure. The 10 pays are very common in the industry. Like almost all financial advisors, that do whole life will always use 10 pays. I know when I was an advisor, I used a lot of 10 and 15 and 20 pays, but it was always because I wanted to get the client to a point where they no longer had to, again, I'm going to change the mindset. Back then I was like, premiums are payments. And I knew there was cash value, but it was still, you're paying for a death benefit, to now where we build policies for banking, where we literally want to be able to put as much capital into our banking system as possible. So premium deposits, I mean, I don't know anybody that wants to put less deposits in their bank account, that people want more deposits in their bank account. So when you start thinking of this as a banking system, the mindset shifts. So the main reason, number one, would because they just don't know what they don't know. They're still looking at it as a life insurance contract, and that's what they're selling, is a life insurance contract. I will say, like, for what we do, there would be one applicable thing that I can think of for a 10-pay or a limited pay policy, and that would be somebody that's setting up an IBC strategy strictly for supplementing the retirement. So maybe they're 50 and they want to retire at 60. So we would fund it from 50 to 60, but they'd have to literally tell me, I'm just a normal person. I don't want to put more money in. I don't want to do anything. at 60, I'm done. I just want to check. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to lend. I don't want to do real estate. I just don't want to do anything. Then great, 10-pay and just draw it down.
Even with that, Chris, I mean,
wouldn't even work with us though. I mean, like, I wouldn't drive such a hard bargain like you, Jason. I would make such a fuss about like why you wouldn't want to put $1 in when you get $2 or $3 back, even if you are retired. I'd even say to the client, I'd be like, you know what? If you want to do a 10-pay because you're so dead set that you think you just don't want any more, payments, then you don't understand it. Why don't you call somebody at Prime America, buy some term and invest the difference. We're not a fit for you, because it's just like you said, Jason, or about to say, like, the simple thought of, if I put $1 in, I get more than $1 back. Like, why wouldn't you understand that? Secondarily, like, if we were allowed, like, dude, like, do the policy. I'll lend you the money every year after the 10th year at 25% interest. And then you just pay me the money back and it'll cost you nothing. Just give me the cash value.
That's what I was going to say. You can go, if you're sitting on your porch, you're retired, you're throwing balls at kids or coming in your yard, you're yelling at people. And then you're like, hey, Fred and Ed and Jeff, I need $1,000 from each of you. And I'll give you 20% on that within a month. If you're taking their money and you're turning that into $6, the $3 they gave you, then that's how you bank. Like, if you can just think you can borrow someone else's money, if you don't want to work anymore, then you can help them make that switch. What's next?
If you came to me with that option, that would be awesome, man. And not even an investment. You'd literally be like, here's a contract showing I'm getting this much money next week. Let's do this. It'd be so easy.
Yeah, I imagine that. I mean, like, just someone that's a retiree and another part about a 10-pay, say, yeah, you can do that. But what if you change your mind? What if you learn something new? What if you haven't arrived yet? You haven't had that arrival syndrome. Well, wouldn't you rather have an RPU at year 10 or 11 where you can just stop it? You have that choice.
But good point.
But you take it away if you do a 10-pay. You lock yourself in.
Yeah.
Like,
all the mold in our facility is getting to my head, because that didn't even come to me. But yeah, like, why would you do a 10-pay that cuts you off in the 10th year when any of our clients can literally just RPU in the 10th year or beyond and just say, I think I'm done. And then they're just done.
And most likely they're not our clients, because I've had those conversations. They typically don't end up being our clients. We need to know who is the clients and who aren't. Right, Chris? Someone told me that once. He was pretty wise. I don't remember who.
Yeah.
I will say I get the fear around it about making policy, even if you think of it as payments when you're 89 years old, like, you're like, oh my God, I have to pay this thing. But even looking at my most recent policy that Linus and Chris had sent over, is, I think when I'm like 89, I put $3,000 in and then I get access to $10,000. Like, to me as an 89-year-old, I would like to do that. Like, I want to do that. I look forward to that.
June, the 89-year-old I talked today, that's exactly what she wanted. Her two things that she wanted someone to tell her what the policy her parents bought for her when she was 16. So, like, doing the math, that's what, 63 years ago or 73 years ago.
Wow.
That they bought the policy. And I told her, hey, get an in-force illustration. It had very little cash value, but I couldn't imagine it had a much bigger death benefit. And she's like, okay, you already told me more than the people that, wrote the policy. They just want to sell me an annuity, or they told me they couldn't help me. And then the second part of it, she's like, I want to leave a legacy for my son, and I want to pay my rent. My rent keeps coming up. I'm on all these committees, but I'm not making more money. So Shauna, like, to your point, if you're putting in 3,000, you're getting 9. It's going to help you with that inflation. It's going to help you with that cost. And you can borrow it from a friend, give them 10, 15, 20% in a month, and still have that money.
Yeah.
Love it.
Your policy and pay back.
Honestly, I thought that's the logic I said too, Brian. I was like, I'll just take, yeah, absolutely.
I have a question real quick, Shauna. Like, who was the one that figured out how to change the names to be the logo? Man, that is freaking cool. It's so on brand.
Well, so it's on the column over to the right. It's under brands, and you can have it be like bubble, classic. This was the one we were using, but I like this one.
I do too.
Wow.
Makes us look super sophisticated.
All right. So Jay is saying, "Hi. Does the normal physical you get annually, like at your doctor, differ from a medical exam for a policy?"
Not really, but the insurance company does run some different tests on the labs than what the normal doctors would. So typically, we can't use the same labs that a doctor ran on you.
Now, Linus, if the younger they are, is it maybe more applicable for the normal physician's number to be used? Because like if they're like 25 versus like 55, does it matter?
That doesn't really make any difference as far as the lab goes, to the point that I just made. But with some of the companies, a younger person like that, when it's not a huge policy, they may not have to do an exam at all. There may be some accelerated underwriting program that the company can do, or there might just be a phone health interview or something instead.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Linus, isn't typically over 50, you're most likely going to get a paramedical, no matter what the coverage is. And it pretty much under 50 and under $2 million for a lot of the companies we work with, you could get accelerated underwriting depending on what they're seeing. Is that fairly?
Those are part of the points, but still a lot of people don't qualify for it, even within those parameters. And so I'd say probably close to 90% of all the clients we put through still have to do a paramedical.
It's good to know.
Yeah. I have noticed it doesn't really, I haven't seen a huge age difference, but death benefit wise, if the death benefit's under like 200 grand, I've seen accelerated underwriting be almost every time, I feel like.
Yeah, depends a little bit on the company.
What do we got next?
So another one. So I was trying to look for it. So Steven, it says, Derek saying, can someone post a link to tomorrow's webinar? Can't seem to find it. So I was thinking he means the PMC Quick Start webinar with Noah that's on Thursdays. And I also can't seem to find the link. So if you can help me out with that.
Yeah, it's
And then to that point, on Thursdays now at 1 p.m. Eastern, we've got our coach Noah Harris from the Private Money Club, who is, here it is, moneyschoolrei.com/PMC Quick Start. If you are interested in becoming the bank and you want to learn how to private lend specifically through Private Money Club, that webinar is really designed to teach you the very beginning steps to do so. Okay.
I like this question. So, Peter, what's the cash value in the policy, first off?
Let's read this. Divorce, and I was awarded the house. There's roughly $73,000 in equity. However, I have to pay her half of the equity out, which comes to $36,500. I have to refinance to get her name off the mortgage loan. I do own an IBC policy currently. What could be some good options to maximize a possibility of a cash out refinance?
This is cool because I actually did his application and I can see his illustration.
Oh, there you go.
His policy is about 7 months old, but there's not going to be nearly enough cash value to do what he's looking at.
Well, maybe he doesn't need the cash value because we're talking about a refinance. So on a refinance, as long as his credit and, his personal financial statements, what the bank needs, he could refinance, but the bank is going to be looking for assets. They're going to be looking for him to be strong on paper. So he could certainly show the cash value on a personal financial statement and show statements of here's the cash value I have. And the bank's going to fully understand what that is. So I think that only lends into his ability to refinance, making it a lot easier. I don't know so much think that the IBC policy is a component of what he's trying to do to get her off the mortgage. I just think it's really just an asset that can be used to better his situation or better his chance of getting the mortgage.
I read it. How can he cash out when he refis that thing and use that cash to maybe dump into another policy?
Why does he want to refi and not get a HELOC?
Because he's got to get her off. So he's got to pay her off, and then
Yeah.
So
and then
after
get a
the
new
HELOC,
mortgage.
after
Once
the
he gets the new
HELOC, he
mortgage,
just
then,
lives
yeah.
with 36.
You get a HELOC on the equity. Now, the question I'd have on that is there an existing mortgage? There is an existing mortgage.
Depends on his DTI too.
Yeah.
Too many not knowns right now.
Okay. I do have one more follow-up question from Rick to you. So the questions we started out with the HELOCs. So follow-up question for Joe. With the first lien HELOC, do we not just continue to keep investing in opportunities continually and fully utilize the line of credit for as long as possible? I hear you say we pay off the HELOC in 3 to 5 years, but then don't we just have money sitting in the rafters again?
That's not paying off the HELOC. So if there's a $400,000 HELOC, a line of credit, and say $200,000 is the mortgage, and then $200,000, so you have $200,000 in bad debt, $200,000 in good debt. You would take the $200,000 in good debt, put that into the opportunity. The interest would come back in and alleviate the bad debt. So after maybe 1 year, you're down to $125,000 of bad debt, and now you increased your good debt up to $275,000. The money that is implemented inside of the investments would be good debt. So if you said, okay, give me back my principal, you could be able to take it back and put it directly in your HELOC and close it out. So that's what we're trying to get to when we say we're out of debt. So we have a $400,000 HELOC and we want to sell our house, but we have that $400,000 in opportunities making us $10,000 a month. So if we sell our house, somebody comes in at the closing table and says, here's $500,000 for your house. They close the HELOC, they pay the $400,000, you have $100,000 left in your hand, and you're still making the $10,000 a month because that money that was utilized from the HELOC is still in the opportunities out there. So not only are you selling your house, having $100,000 in your hand, you're still getting that $10,000 a month. So when I say pay off the HELOC, it's not necessarily paying off the HELOC. It's having that amount in opportunities making you interest. Did that sound better that way?
I think so.
Did I explain it better that way?
Fine by me. Jay is asking, can I start a policy for $15,000 dump in and have a spread between $5,000 and $15,000 going forward?
100%. As long as the 5,000. Yeah, actually, yeah. Because I know your age, definitely. That actually looked pretty sexy if you did it that way.
It'd be pretty efficient.
I was just gonna say you'd know the numbers, Linus.
Is this the guy I'm thinking?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had bid on an earlier webinar where it wasn't very clear, and it actually seemed to me like it might not be. So I'm not sure.
It's not totally clear to me either. So I guess maybe could you guys explain what you're seeing that looks great, and then so I can understand it or Linus can understand it.
You mean what looks great about the numbers?
Well, I get the 15,000 dump in, but then a spread between 5 and 15 going forward. Like I feel like that's saying I want to sometimes pay 15,000 or 5,000 to this vehicle, and sometimes I want to pay 15,000 to this vehicle. And to me, that doesn't make sense.
Well, it would make sense. It certainly could work. You could design a policy for 15,000 per year. And then I'm not doing the math in my head, but like I'm pretty sure we could redline the policy because it's not a big dump to allow it as low as 5,000 in any given year, except for the first year you'd have to fund it at the 15.
Yeah, it's 15,000 annual policy, and then the low side you're at. If you divide 65-35, you're at $5,000 on the low side.
Yeah,
So
there
you
You could go as low as 4,500 to not have any term on it. You have 4,500 for your low end.
Okay.
and no drag on the policy at that. So you just
That's
wouldn't
what I
want to
mean.
go lower than 4,500 because then you could build it without any drag and out any that Mr. Dave Ramsey awesome stuff in there.
Man, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I watched a couple of his videos this week, and I had to go watch some Nelson Nash to kind of wash myself off.
At this stage, Jason, by you watching Dave Ramsey, no disrespect to Dave, but it just makes you stupider. I'm telling you, like it takes your IQ and you're going to lose. You're literally going to instantly become stupider by trying to watch his stuff because you're literally just.
I just wanted to see. I just wanted to hear him say that he hates whole life, and he had this guy call up, and of course, as soon as they say, "Well, I have this whole life policy, we're paying," I think it was oh boy, what they do? And it was like 5 or 6 years old, so we know it's already at the efficiency point, or really, really close to it. And it was for him and his wife. He had $1 million of coverage. She had $500,000 of coverage. It was like $648 a month. In the call, he literally told the guy, get rid of it, surrender it, and go get term. And
dude, that is totally like that could end up in an arbitration case right there. Literally, like by him saying that could get him in a lot of trouble because like they're literally giving up a policy. Let's say they gave up those policies and they for some reason couldn't get insured for the term. Like that's a lawsuit.
Well, he did stop and say, hey, you have to make sure that you have your coverage before you drop the policy.
But even just by him saying get rid of this policy to get this policy, like now you're taking somebody out of a policy that has like coverage for the rest of your life and putting them in a policy that has coverage for a term of time. If they outlive their term, like they could go, Dave's probably like doing the math in his head. He's like, no, I'll be dead by then, but like if they outlive the term, like I'm just being realist here. Like that's definitely a lawsuit that client would win against Dave Ramsey.
And he was telling that guy, he's like, well, if you put $95 in a glass jar in your kitchen, then you're not broke, right? I'm like, what the F are you talking about? Of course you're broke. You can't even go out and buy eggs and gas with that. Like, what's wrong? You're an a-hole. And then like I was like listening to him and I was just like, how is this guy have such a following in a TV show? This is what's wrong. Like, this is what's wrong. Then I went to Nelson Nash, and he won that Blinking Light Award. Did you guys see, like, at the end of that presentation, it was basically a Blinking Light Award. I don't know all of the context, but it was an award given to Nelson. Back during the war in Poland, there was a radio station that they had to move, like, every 10 minutes. And otherwise, they would get found and persecuted for what they were putting out to people to keep them informed. And so one night, because I never knew who was listening, they're like, if you can hear us, just blink your lights. And they look out and everything in Warsaw was blinking because they were bringing truth and light. And this is the award that Nelson's getting. And then I'm like listening to Dave Ramsey tell this guy something that's criminal on the show. And I'm like, how does he get away with it? And why do people watch it? And I was just watching because I want to understand why he says what he says. And I'm just like, there's no understanding it.
Jason, just listen to The Strangest Secret in the World and pay very close attention to the 5% and the 95%. And that answers your question.
It does answer the question. Thank you for reminding me.
I just can't wait until the end when he passes away and they say, oh, look, he had 5 whole life policies. I can't wait for that day. That's what I'm waiting for. He can't be that dumb. He probably just has it. He probably has maybe 10 of them, but he's just like, keep pushing the term, keep pushing the term.
Hopefully, ironically, he doesn't.
Sorry for making us all dumber, and thank you for entertaining that. So.
All right. So we got another question here. Quick. I'm just going to, I don't even know, revive. I'm military and currently temporarily stationed overseas. Would I be able to get this process started now, or will I need to wait until I get back? I'm in Europe.
Okay. Thank you for your service, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two is yes, as far as getting the policy signed and doing your paramedical, you will be stateside. I've helped a lot of veterans or a lot of people in the military who've come back, who've done the task, got approved, and they're able to fund it and therefore move forward. So anybody else have any additional context for that?
No.
The exam has to be done on land, and they have to sign it on land. Other than that,
I wonder if you lived on a boat, if they'd come do it on a boat.
you know what I meant.
I did. But that's where my brain went, so I just went with it.
My brain went to Step Brothers. Boats. Anyway.
We're live, so if we could do rapid fire. We got another 14 minutes here. If anybody's got a question. Oh, here we go. Jay saying, regarding the PMC, do we need our attorneys involved when trying to complete a deal, specifically lending money?
You don't need attorneys involved, but you certainly should have an attorney that's got your best interest in mind. I mean, I think one mistake a lot of people make is, as a lender, I think a lot of people will lend and they'll use the borrower's attorney just because they don't have to pay for it. They're literally saving $300 to $600, which they could make the borrower pay their attorney fees. I mean, banks, I've never seen a bank not make the borrower pay the bank's legal fees, which are absorbent. So there's no reason you shouldn't have your own attorney. And in your contract as the lender, thou with the gold makes the rules, tell the borrower that they're going to pay the legal fees for reviewing or preparing the mortgage and the note. Hopefully I'm answering this right, but I don't know why any lender would not have their own legal reviewing and preparing documents for a deal to protect their money. I can't think of any reason why a lender wouldn't do that.
I have a question. So a while ago, when Michael Clannon, who he was at that one of those events with you, I've enrolled in one of those cheap monthly I pay $65 a month for Legal Shield. You know what I mean? And they'll review documents for me if I need them to. I don't know if that would suffice better than not, or
Yeah, you'd want to, I don't know about Legal Shield, but you'd want to find, you could do one of those retainer services like what we used to do, but you'd want to make sure somebody on that legal team is a specialist in real estate. That's all.
Okay.
That was going to be my question, Chris, is how do you get the right attorney? So a real estate specialist.
Referrals. I mean, it's not hard in any area to find a real estate attorney. I mean, Facebook, every social media platform, you can go on them. You can go on any of those rating sites that, find a 5-star rated real estate attorney. It's if you say you can't find one, it's because you haven't even tried to look. There's so many real estate attorneys out there, but find one that just really is a specialist in real estate.
Good advice, because none of us here are legal professionals.
No, me neither. I've just taken the whole legal thing very serious in the last 3 years, maybe too serious. I think people get mad at me because they're like, hey, I sent you over this thing to read. I'm like, yep, my attorney's reviewing it. They're like, wait, your attorney's reviewing it? It's just a letter saying hi. Yeah, I figured I'd just have my attorney review it. I'll send you the red lines over.
That's awesome.
I'm kidding, but I'm really not.
Tess is just saying, in the accelerator program, part of the homework is finding and establishing your team.
Bingo.
Which would include that attorney.
All right.
So to that point, Jay, I don't know if you're joining us for the 3-day this weekend, but actually, you know what, that webinar tomorrow, the PMC Quick Start, you'll get a taste of Coach Noah Harris, and that's really somebody who's going to get you off the ground to learn to lend the right way, the best way, set you up for success. And if you like what you see there, you can always consider joining the coaching programs and getting kind of trained along the way. And that accelerator is pretty fast too. It's like 8 weeks. So what's 8 weeks from now?
People rave about
May
it.
1st?
Yeah. I mean, people are raving about it. I don't think I've heard one person that's gone through accelerator, even the very first one, that has said it wasn't worth everything they paid and then some.
This is a good question from Jimmy. Just to clarify, are you getting a lawyer or legal service in every different state you lend in?
No, not at all. Just one attorney that understands real estate and can then find the answer in different states, because it is state by state. So a lot of times what you'll do is you'll find an attorney in your state okay, which is what I did. But my attorney then talks to the title company of the borrowers, and the title company of the borrower, whether it's Florida, Arizona, wherever, knows the laws there. And my attorney's an attorney, so it's very easy for him to understand. So, hey, how does this work? How does this work? Texas is the only kind of tricky one. But that's all. I mean, you don't need an attorney in every state. Just find an attorney that's versed enough to get the answers about every state that they're going to do. And every real estate attorney is usually doing deals in multiple states anyway. Anyone that's worth a damn is.
And then one other question right now from Eve is saying, what are you folks covering at the webinar that's coming up in about 40 minutes?
Oh, wouldn't you like to know? No, I probably I'm gonna kind of high level, and it's gonna be very high level because obviously I don't want to give the whole thing away. But we're gonna cover economics. We're very quick about economics, a bridge strategy to not give all the money you've made over the last couple of years in this bull market. Then moving into the best ways to preserve and protect wealth without taking additional risk, and the best ways to build your wealth. And then we'll finish up on some IBC strategies that kind of get you ready for the 3-day. Eve, you've been around the campfire for a while, so some of it would be a repeat for you, but some of it won't be. Some of it'll be like the early stuff will be new.
And then Oren saying, my policy will start in 2 weeks, longest 2 weeks ever.
I know, it's tough. I got to jump, Sean. I got to go pick my car up, but I'll see everybody in 40 minutes.
Wow, you are strong. Good luck with that.
What? Oh yeah, it's nothing, man. I've been going to the gym. It's only like 7,000 pounds. I mean, it's just a hunk of metal, piece of cake.
Oh yeah, your Prius.
My Prius. Love my hybrid.
Could you imagine Chris driving a Prius? That would make him angry.
Hilarious.
Those things used to sneak up on me when I used to cycle all the time. I hated those things. They were like the first ones. They're so quiet.
I always think of like The Office. Dwight gets like ran over by one, I think, at some point.
Yeah, that almost happened a lot. That was true. True thing.
All right, guys. Well, we have no questions right now. So
Weird.
Chris and Steven are doing a training at 6 o'clock Eastern. So at the top of the hour, you could get in on that Zoom if you're on our email list. I'm sure that the invite is in your inbox right now.
Excellent. Well, anybody have anything else they want to talk about? Any fun calls? Anything else? Or we can wrap up 5 minutes early.
I don't know. I was going to congratulate Carson, but he's off now.
I'll see you guys at in about 35 minutes.
All right.
All right.
Catch you guys later.
That's good.
Thank you all.
Good to everyone. Thank you.